Story, jury selection is about to begin in a landmark trial on social media. So this centers on a teenager who accuses tech companies of intentionally creating addictive content that wreaked havoc on her mental health. Madison Allworth is following this. She's in our New York newsroom. Good morning.
Good morning, Dana. Jury selection kicks off today for the first of several high-profile trials against social media giants, claiming that they're addictive and are harmful to young people's mental health. In this case, a 19-year-old identified only as KGM and her mother, Karen Glenn, are suing TikTok, Meta, and YouTube for unspecified monetary damages, alleging that the companies knowingly created addictive features which led to self-harm and suicidal thoughts. Snap, which was also a defendant, settled last week for an unknown amount. Social media and their makers are on trial. Meta's Mark Zuckerberg is expected to take the stand for this trial on February 9th. Meta released a statement ahead stating in part, quote, "We strongly disagree with these allegations and are confident the evidence will show our long-standing commitment to supporting young people." Meta's legal team says they've built tools for parents into their platform and that it's parental responsibility to monitor children's social media use. YouTube and TikTok also have safety features for their teens built into the platforms. Findings from the medical community about youth mental health and social media are mixed.
Yeah, this is gonna be very interesting. Definitely a landmark type of case, where the teen is suing these social media platforms, saying that they build products that are addictive and it had negative effects on her mental health. And it's saying that TikTok had already settled and Snap had already settled, and Mark Zuckerberg is set to take the stand February 9th. So we're definitely gonna be paying attention to that when that happens. I've been reporting on this type of thing because I do find it interesting with bans being proposed of social media for certain ages, with Australia banning it for teenagers, and just people having conversations about the long lasting effects of teens just all day or just for a large amount of time being, looking at their phones and social media. And the judgment in this is definitely going to set a precedent and could open a large door for others to, sue and, you know, try to seek the same type of judgment. Even with TikTok settling and stuff like that, that definitely can influence others, either parents or kids, to sue as well. So, um, I do feel like a lot of it is on parents to, make sure that, they go through and learn the safeguards for their kids, so that they can be utilized. And, if the kids are at a certain age, that not even allow them to have an account on social media. So, I do believe that. And I also believe that these platforms are made so it's addictive and that you doom scroll all day and you're not productive. And, of course, they're going to just entice people to create content that's going to keep you there scrolling. So, it's like a dopamine hit for some people as far as scrolling on these platforms. And, you getting quick hits of dopamine every time you see a video. It's maybe something funny, maybe something serious, maybe something that you like, new information, gossip, whatever, so sports clips like highlights and things like that. And you name it, it's on these social media platforms. And for some people, man, they're so knee deep in it, they don't even realize they spend hours on hours just looking at this, at their social media.
And the research shows that it's not that it's bad for teens, but it affects different teens in different ways, depending on how they use it and their own vulnerabilities, which means it's about individual differences and circumstances. There are a lot of negative effects, but there are also positive effects, just like anything else.
The trial is expected to get underway a week from today once jury selection wraps up. This is the first of multiple trials that will follow. It could cost social media platforms billions of dollars. and we're going to follow all of it.
All right, Madison.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping that it's something that will be streamed to where I can like do reactions to it as it's happening, and yeah, it's potentially definitely billions of dollars that's going to cost these platforms for sure.
Today marks the start of a landmark trial in a lawsuit claiming that social media companies are using addicting tech to hook children. TikTok, one of the social media giants being sued in this case, just agreed to settle the suit and avoid the courtroom. But Meta and YouTube are opting to go to trial. So let's bring in CBS News correspondent Chanel Call live for us in the CBS News 24/7 newsroom. Chanel, what can you tell us about this lawsuit? Go over the details for us.
Well, let's start with who launched this lawsuit. It was launched by someone who was a teenager at the time, identified in this case as KGM. And Liz, KGM is alleging in this suit essentially that she became addicted to social media apps through things like doom scrolling, features that we have come to be very familiar with, also with the algorithms, with the way the notifications work. And she's alleging in this lawsuit that that addiction eventually led to mental health problems. Now, you mentioned this off the top. Where we're at in this case right now is about a week ago, Snap and KGM actually reached a settlement. And then just earlier today, moments before this case was supposed to begin its trial, we found out that TikTok also ended up settling with KGM. The terms of those settlements have not been made public. We don't know exactly what was involved in this, but we can say that that is a big step forward in this case because it now means those two companies, Snap and TikTok, will not have to be part of this trial. Meta and YouTube, for their part, are saying that they're welcoming their opportunity to defend the work that their companies do. They've denied these allegations, but this is part of a larger picture. This will be the first big test of this argument that, we've talked about this as a lot of people are comparing to what we saw happen with big tobacco decades ago, where the allegations really are that these companies have created products that inherently are addictive by nature, and that addiction has then led to some pretty awful health outcomes for young Americans, for millions of young Americans. We're talking about things like depression, anxiety, in some cases eating disorders, body image disorders. And then we've also got cases where we're seeing, unfortunately, self-harm and in some instances suicide. So this will be the first big test of that argument. As for this case specifically, the trial is expected to last about 6 to 8 weeks. Jury selection was set to begin today. And we're also hoping to hear from some big executives involved in this story, including Mark Zuckerberg himself.
Chanel Call, thank you so much.
So, there you have it. She, laid it out, and, this is supposed to be a 6 to 8 week trial. Of course, we're going to hear from, some big executives from like Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, and, it looks like YouTube is still in the whole mix of this trial, and looks like TikTok and Snap settled, and yeah, so apparently, the person who brought the suit on is no longer a team, but she's saying that, death strolling and notifications and, all the features of social media kept her on it to the point where she developed mental issues. So we'll see what happens with this trial. I'm definitely going to be following this because this is, a topic that I've been covering in several different videos. So yeah, we'll definitely cover this whole thing. But I'm gonna go ahead and close out this video at this point because we just wanted to lay the foundations of what this trial was, and we'll look to see what's gonna happen here in the future. But if you like my content, just make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. This is Justin Paul. Peace.